Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm writing to Why Do We Need to Achieve Moksha? J. Lakhani Hindu Academy. So why do we need to achieve Moksha? So I'm not now I know why and I don't know why. So what I mean by know why is that obviously everyone being liberated would be great. Everyone not suffering would be great. But there is perhaps an ultimate goal to this where when everyone's liberated. But I have a feeling a couple of theories that I have based on what I know about Advaita Vedanta and from the gurus and swamis that I've watched. Sadhguru talked about 87, I believe. And I've said before, I had a kind of a weird theory where the universe has collapsed and then re-expanded and collapsed and re-expanded. And Sadhguru talked to this person who had about a similar theory, and Sadhguru said 87. It's a number. I can't quite remember what the actual number is. But perhaps this is the 87th time this universe has been reborn. So perhaps maybe when everyone has obtained moksha, that the universe will collapse on itself. No more karma out there. So therefore, and everyone being liberated, well, that's it. And then the universe will collapse on itself and then it will be reborn again. So that cyclical cycle. I believe that being the ultimate goal. I'm not sure though, so I don't know. I'm kind of curious what Lakhani has to say because obviously the basic thing is the end of suffering for us. Absolutely, no one would disagree with that. But is the more ultimate goal the collapse of the universe, which sounds terrible, but would be a good thing because again, the end of suffering. Although I would not want to be alive during the collapse of the universe when you're looking up and you see Jupiter about 12 feet above you. Now I don't know if that's how it's going to end or anything like that. Maybe everything's dead, and then the universe collapse, and not the fact that Jupiter is 12 feet above you and you can about touch it.
People somehow got a feeling that in moksha means you get snuffed out. So all your fun goes and you just disappear, you're snuffed out. It's nothing of the sort. To the contrary, moksha simply says rise above your delusion regarding what is the nature of reality. So you don't have to be snuffed out. You don't have to die. You can continue living in a body and still attain moksha and operate in the sphere of the world without having to lose out your identity. The only difference is this: normally human beings live like slaves. They are at the mercy of desires and they're kind of chasing after desires. They're kind of stuck with it. They're infected. When you attain moksha, what happens is that you rise above desires and you can live life more fully, not less fully, more fully when you attain moksha while you're alive. That's the aim of Hindu life, not to just get snuffed out. We don't believe in stuff like that. We say we really attain our true nature. We recognize our true dignity and divinity, and that gives us a very charged up lifestyle. So we are saying moksha is not something that stops you from living a good life.
Okay, that was really quick. I forgot to say that in the very beginning. But I'm trying to remember. I did react to his video about reincarnation, I believe, because I was looking to make sure I haven't done this one. Um, I can't remember what his stance was, or at least what he said about reincarnation. And I don't remember if he said in a previous video where if you have attained enlightenment, you will no longer be reborn into this world because this world, this Maya, is suffering. Um, However, again, with the reborn portion of it, it's kind of like if you have obtained moksha, if you're an enlightened being, you are going to be reborn. We are all going to be reborn, regardless of how enlightened we are. The reason why I say this is because there's only one consciousness, and that consciousness is always being reborn. There's no separate consciousness. So, um, the same consciousness that lies into enlightened beings and lies within us as well. So there is no difference. The only difference is between an enlightened being and us, at least as far as I understand, is they understand reality. You could say how I explain my how I don't suffer very much is I understand reality, and reality is more along the lines of the Maya, not like Brahman reality or anything like that. I don't delve into that necessarily. But so what I mean by, because I understand reality, I don't suffer as much. I understand that there are things I can and cannot control, and when you have that understanding, you don't suffer things you cannot control. Because when you truly understand that you cannot control it, then why suffer? Why choose to suffer when you on something that you cannot control? So if it's something you can't control, it's like, well, there's nothing I can do. So let's find out what the results are. Um, I kind of like this idea of moksha because this is something that I think of. Like when you've obtained enlightenment, it doesn't mean you stop enjoying life. Like for me, for example, I choose to attach myself to joyfulness in life, but I choose to detach myself from suffering in life. So when something, and you say, well, something joyful can be suffering, it's like, yes, absolutely, I don't disagree with you there. Something so joyful, I attach. When it becomes disjoyful, when it becomes suffering, I detach from it. I no longer attach myself to a suffering item or thing or whatever it is because I don't want to suffer. So I detach myself from it. And I don't know if there's going to be people that are discouraged, like, how can you do that? That's impossible. Or some people may say, I guess I understand now. I don't know. But that's how I work. I mean, I'm not saying that it works 100% of the time, all the time, but a lot of the times it has worked. Now, where times it doesn't work, I don't know whether it's because I can't detach myself from it or whether I'm choosing to still attach myself to it and still suffer from it. So I don't know where the flaw in that is. Now, there could be someone out there who could literally do what I said, where they attach themselves to nothing but the joyful things in life and completely detach themselves from the unjoyful things in life and have no issue with that. That, I would say, is absolutely, hopefully, a path to enlightenment. I wouldn't doubt it, hopefully, because that's kind of the point, is to reduce, or at least, no, not to reduce, but to end suffering. And if you don't suffer, did you end suffering? That's one point. That's not the only way to enlightenment. Or yes, anyways, I don't know what's the requirement to enlightenment. I know ending of suffering is one of it. I don't know if that's the only part of it. So, um, and that's I guess I was saying, like, that's the reason why I kind of like this definition of moksha, is because you can enjoy life and and the weirdest thing about, like, you stop your rebirth about being enlightened doesn't didn't quite make too much sense. It did a little bit, but then when I realized that there's only one consciousness and that one consciousness is constantly reborn in this life, because if a baby is born, well, it has consciousness, you know. Um, so you cannot say that we are not. If there is truly one consciousness, we cannot say that once one person becomes enlightened, all of a sudden everyone's enlightened and no one gets reborn. When clearly the fact is the fact that even if one person is enlightened, there's constantly people being reborn, or there's babies being born. So therefore, this consciousness that's in the same enlightened person, that's the same as me, same as you, same as whoever else, is being put into the baby. Mind you, don't read too much in how I said that statement, but just understand the bigger picture of it. It's that the fact that obviously when a conscious being or a baby is born, it is conscious. So it's just the point of there is always rebirth, regardless of whether you're enlightened or not. There is no separate consciousness. The only thing that I think the only thing that separates us from the consciousness, even though there's not separation there, but in terms of the Maya, is the knowledge in our brain and this body. So in Maya, we are separate in a sense that we see uniqueness, and that's the reason why we have the ego and the illusion of separation. But this illusion feels very real. But the reality is that there's only one consciousness. So looking at that, the only difference between us is obviously in Maya, which is the brain, the intelligence, the understanding, the consciousness. No difference. I hope that makes sense. Obviously, in terms of Advaita Vedanta, there is only one reality. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to disprove that. That's not the whole point. The point is understanding there is that one reality, but in the reality of Maya, that there is separation, and this is the reason why we have this illusion and the ego and the suffering. Is that we have the separation of us. That's the only way we can have separation of us is within Maya itself, where even in ultimate reality there is no separation. I hope that makes sense. It is it is complicated to have the non-duality and duality and trying to explain how consciousness is non-duality, even within Maya is non-duality. But the illusion of duality in Maya is the bodies, the individual items, the individual us, the egos of us, is the illusion and duality in Maya. If you're confused, I don't blame you. It's it's tough to it's tough for me to try to put into words, especially right on the spot. Again, went into this blind, like all videos, and then try to explain my thoughts without taking the time to write it down and try to formulate it perfectly. It's like, okay, this makes perfect sense. Anyways, that's my reaction to why do we need a Jeev Moksha. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, the sign down below. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next vid.